Welcome aboard to the 2024 Toyota Tundra Crew Max SR5. Let me show you guys around. For a base price of $50,000, and this one as tested at $60,000, you get a twin-turbo I-Force V6 with 389 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. This thing definitely accelerates like no problem at all. It doesn't even feel like a big truck when you're accelerating in this thing. Let's begin the exterior walk around with this massive front grille. I love the way it looks on such a big vehicle like this. I think Toyota did a really good job at making it very emphasized. I quite like it. I like how the chrome trim goes all the way down here. Now that's not to everybody's taste, but I think it looks pretty cool when fully executed with the TRD badge right there. I also like these LED headlights combined with these very soft halogen turn signals. If you got to do halogen turn signals in 2023, adding the soft filter on it is definitely the way to do it. I also like how most of these vents aren't fake either. I think they did a really good job with that. But overall, the front end is absolutely burly, and I love the way the hood also has a lot of front on it as well. There's a lot of surface area, and I like how bulbous it looks. Definitely the right look if you got to design a full-size truck. Of course, we can't forget these 18-inch wheels with this insanely awesome 3-inch lift kit from the factory. Those shocks look like they're ready to do anything, and you have these special Michelin trail tires with extra big treads on them. I think they absolutely look great on this truck, although I do wish that the tires were a little bit bigger. Now, one thing I wish that the side profile of this Toyota Tundra had is, of course, running boards. Now, me being 5'8.5", it's definitely a bit of a jump to get inside of this Tundra, but it looks pretty cool being as tall as it is, although once again, the lift makes the wheels look quite small. But looking at the body profile, the side view actually looks pretty minimalist. You got the bulbous wheel arches on both the front end and the pickup bed, but overall, it's a very proportionally good-looking truck. I like how they carried over the little kink in the window right there from the previous generation. That part I really like. In my opinion, the last generation Tundra looked a little too chunky, and they definitely de-chunkified the truck a little bit by making it look a lot more proportional. Another thing I really like they did with this new Tundra is now not only can you get this 5.5 foot bed with the Crew Max, but for the first time ever, you can get a 6.5 foot bed. Or at least for the first time since 2006, you can get a full-size 6.5 foot bed with your Crew Max, even though we only have the 5.5 foot bed here. Of course, on the back, we have full LED taillights and turn signals. They look awesome. I love the way Tundra is written on the back along with the 4x4 badge. And of course, you have your iconic TRD badge over here as well. Now, the bed already has some nice bed liner in it. It's quite a large bed, given that it's only 5.5 feet long. So honestly, you could carry a lot of things in here. You obviously can't carry like 4x8 sheets of plywood, but you can carry most of your stuff. If you put a tonneau cover or a cab shell, you can easily do that as well. Or if you want a third row, you can just go for the Sequoia, which is basically this, but a little bit shorter and with an enclosed back on it. So overall, the Tundra looks pretty freaking cool, even though it's just the second to base model. But I think where this Tundra really shines is its interior. So let's go ahead and check that out right now. The inside of the Toyota Tundra is extremely rugged, but it's also extremely basic at this price point. Let's start with this awesome steering wheel. I love the way it feels. I love the perforation in the steering wheel as well. It's incredibly soft, and I like all the silver plastic trim on here. I think that looks really cool. I also like the way that the gloss black controls on each side are both for your stereo system, and the matte black controls are for your cruise control and your digital display. Now, we have physical gauges, which I think is awesome. We have a tachometer and a speedometer, which you don't really see on new trucks anymore, but I really like how there is a semi-digital display in the middle. You can see everything from your eco modes, you can see your cruise control and driver assist modes, your music, you can see your trip computer, and your various safety settings. You can configure almost anything on this display, and you can even see your warning messages as well. So it's a very detailed display. I also really like how you have your oil temp gauge and your battery gauge. In a full-size truck, a lot of people like to be able to see stuff like that, so it's good that Toyota has honored it here. I also like the headlight controls on the stock. They are incredibly easy to use as well. You got your turn signals. They feel nicely dampened. They feel very high-end. I also like your wiper stocks. Again, as per any Toyota, they feel very high-end. You You have your intermittent control right over here. So overall, the whole steering wheel setup is pretty nice. We also can't forget that it is fully tilting and telescoping, which is nice for a semi-base level Tundra. Now over here you have your button to turn on your cab light. You have your automatic headlights. This turns on your automatic stop start. A lot of people love to turn this on when turning on their vehicle, and it's nice to see it here. This controls the brightness of your gauge cluster. This resets your odometer. We have your interior cabin light brightness, and we even have a heated steering wheel, which is nice in a wintry climate like we are in right now. Let's make our way to the right. I really like this TRD engine start stop button. Having a red start stop button is honestly the coolest thing you can do in a car. I'm not gonna lie there. We have your various towing controls right over here, and this is really the star of the show. We have the smaller but still very good touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This is actually my phone right here, and I do not have a cable attached. I also really like this infinite volume button. This feels fantastic as well. And of course we have fully physical climate controls, which is really nice to see. A lot of people are switching to touchscreen climate controls. It's really nice that Toyota not only gives you a pretty large screen on the base model, but they still give you physical climate controls underneath. Now, if you upgrade to one of the higher trim levels, you can obviously get Toyota's full-fledged touchscreen, which is absolutely massive. But for a base model, this is about all you need. It's incredibly smooth and easy to use. They all run the same operating system. It's awesome. I also like the look of these rugged air vents. They're very easy to control and use. And I like these climate controls because you can use these with gloves on, and that's the biggest thing. That's why they made them all chunky. And the next Tacoma is going to have it like that too. You can control all your other various climate controls down here as well, like in a regular Toyota. And of course, we have a USB Type A port. Now, Toyota understands that not everybody's switched to Type C yet. So throughout the vehicle, if you go into armrest, they give you USB A and USB C throughout the car, which is awesome. Now over here we have your shifter for your 10-speed automatic transmission. It's nice that they have a 10-speed to compete with the likes of the Chevy Silverado, and so I love having the 10-speed. It's incredibly smooth and super nice on the road. We have your electromechanical parking brake, traction control off hazard light, and your actual disconnect, very important when you're off-roading. Over here, this is where things have changed from the previous generation Tundra. Now, older generation Tundras had an upper glove box and a lower glove box, which by the way is still lockable in this model. Well, the glove box on the bottom is absolutely massive. The upper glove box has been replaced with a nice little shelf to put something like your phone or your sunglasses, but overall, it's an extremely functional place to be. These seats are also very comfortable as well. Even though they're the base model, they're cloth, they're manual, they're not heated, but they have decent enough bolsters, and they have a pretty cool pattern on them too, to keep you nice and comfortable on long drives. I also really like this door card design. I like how it says Toyota in there. Everything is soft touch, by the way, on these door panels and throughout the interior. Definitely a major upgrade from the previous generation. And on the door panels, we also have giant cup holders and lots of space to put your stuff, and an additional shelf over here too. So Toyota is really making good use of their space here as well. Typical Toyota window controls are down there. Typical Toyota door locks are right here. Everything is very easy to use in this Toyota Tundra's interior. Let's make our way up and check out the giant sun visors. I mean, that is my hand. This is like the size of my laptop. They are massive, and the convenience lights built in there too, which is nice. Of course, up here we have your famed sunglass holder. Yes, we finally get a sunglass holder back in a Toyota, guys. Really nice to see that there. I do wish they kept the overhead storage from the last Tundra, but this is the base model, so I'll let it slide. But as you can see here, we have one of my favorite features of the Tundra, which is your roll down back window. If you push and pull that, it'll roll up and down your back window for some nice ventilation. Let's keep that open for a minute, shall we? I, of course, can't forget about the transfer case. We have 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low, as well as a plethora of other drive modes. This activates your sport, normal, and eco modes, but you can also have your tow haul mode, your DEC/crawl mode, and your MTS mode. Of course, down here we have 2 wireless chargers, a ton of storage here, 2 giant cup holders, and I like how they have prongs to hold your cup in place. Over here we have kind of a really cool center console setup. Not only do we have built-in armrests and this little shelf that retracts, but push on this button right here and it'll lift the entire console up, leading to a ton more room with a lot more organization, coin slots, USB-A port, and a USB-C port. leaving a lot of place to put your stuff. And for the back seat, you also have your very own cup holders. Speaking of the back seat actually has its very own air vents back here as well, and a little storage space to put your phone, plus a USB-A port and a USB Type-C port, and an optional, I believe this is where you would put a 110 volt socket. That's a really great thing to have as well if you want to go for one of the higher trim levels. But looking at the back seat, we actually have a ton of legroom. This seat is in approximately my default driving position of about 5'8.5". I have lots of legroom and loads of headroom. Someone over 6.5 feet tall would be easily comfortable in the back of this Tundra. The one thing I do wish that they didn't get rid of is the little grab handles on the top. However, we do still have nice grab handles right here, which I really appreciate. Looking down to the door cards, the door cards have solid plastic on them, but they have the exact same storage that the front doors do. So I like the maintenance of consistency. Absolutely fantastic. I also wish that there is a door pocket back here like there is on the passenger side. But you know what? This middle seat looks absolutely massive. Let's go ahead and check out how big this middle seat is. There's barely a transmission tunnel, so you could easily fit 3 people across in this back seat for a long drive, and you would not have a single problem at all. I've done it before in the old Tundra, and with this new Tundra, you get an even more padded middle seat and pretty much the same amount of room as the old car. And so you can really spend a long time in something like this. You could go on like an 11 or 12-hour road trip easily. And let's not forget about these little convenience lights back here as well, which are full LED. So you might be thinking, wait a minute, there's no trunk area of the Tundra, right? Because there is a bed in the back. Well, you're right, but if we pull on this little tab here and we lift up on these seats, you can see that we actually get a bunch of in-floor storage. Now on the last gen Tundras, these seats were slidable and reclinable, but Toyota omitted that in order to get some under-seat storage. You can see underneath that other seat, we do have quite a bit of storage. I like the Tundra badge, and I also really like this Texas badge here because it's proudly built in San Antonio. That's kind of a nice touch. You know, these Tundras have always been built in San Antonio, Texas, and Toyota is very proud of that. And of course, if we go to the other side and we lift up the other seat, we have the first aid kit in there as well. So this is essentially going to act as your trunk, and you can even leave these seats folded up if you want to put some giant boxes in your Toyota Tundra. With that in mind, let's go ahead and check out the driving impressions of the Tundra. Again, we have that 3.6 liter turbo V6 with a whopping 379 horsepower, which is freaking awesome for a truck like this. Definitely more than even the V8s that GM offers, although not all of them, to be honest. But you can always get the iForce Max hybrid powertrain if you so choose. Now, not a lot of people like that they switched from the V8 to the V6, but I think it's actually it makes the truck a lot quicker right off the line. So first of all, the steering feel is actually pretty good. It actually has a little bit of weight to it. It's not completely vague, which is nice to see in a big truck like this. So you can definitely get used to this very quickly. Now, brake feel is also incredible for how big this truck is. It'll slow it down in no time. Of course, we have a top-mounted pedal, which again is not my favorite, but you can almost barely tell because again, it's arched. So not a major deal breaker there. But this thing accelerates off the line really quickly. Like when you're not body rolling because of the 3-inch lift, it feels like a small car when you're accelerating. It can get up to the speed limit pretty much instantly. It can close any gap. Compared to a normal truck, this thing is insanely quick. And I think that it's a fantastic truck to drive. Even though, again, it is a little bit big, seeing over the hood, this is about my point of view here, and usually the road line is about right there in order for me to be centered, and I have to keep using my mirrors to center myself, being used to a small car, but you can actually get used to driving a Tundra pretty quickly, and so I really like this. The 10-speed automatic is a dream to drive with, obviously. Not being a CVT, it's awesome. I love 10 speeds. Every car should have some kind of an 8-speed or a 10-speed automatic. I love the shifter as well. I like the leather trim on it. It's very nice, and I like how bold it feels. Definitely nice, especially for wearing gloves. Toyota knows their market very well with this Toyota Tundra, and that's the whole theme. The whole vehicle is rugged. It feels great. Toyota knows their market. The V6, you got to give it a try. It's fantastic. And with that in mind, if you're looking for a full-size truck, I highly recommend this brand new 2024 Toyota Tundra, even in the SR5 trim. It's fantastic, and you can get a lot of upgrades. So this one is as priced $60,000, but the base price is $50,000 to get you into an SR5, and that's quite a bit more than it used to be, but you still get a great truck at the end of the day. So with that in mind, thank you so much for coming along on this review of this brand new 24 Tundra. Be sure to check out my other reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.